Hello, I'm John Klobuchar with InEight, and I'd like to welcome you to the latest webinar in our Path of Construction series. Today's webinar is titled How to Ensure On-Time Execution Through Interval Planning. Our presenter today is Keith Anderson, who is the Director of Product Management for InEight. Keith is responsible for the planning, scheduling, and risk solutions in InEight's capital project management software portfolio. He brings more than 20 years of product design and management, business development, and customer success to the team. If you have any questions as you watch this webinar, please email them to webinars@ineight.com, and Keith will do his best to answer them. Also, this presentation is being recorded, and we'll be sending you a link to the video in about a week's time. Once again, we're glad you've joined us. And now, let me introduce Keith Anderson.
Hey, thanks for that introduction. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. It's great to be here. My name is Keith Anderson. I'm the product director for the planning, scheduling, and risk solutions here at InEight. And today I want to talk a little bit about discuss how work-phase planners use interval planning to plan work and make sure that they really have the right crews, material, and equipment in the right place at the right time. And how this approach drives execution excellence and achievability with the overall project plan. So studies have shown that on average, 35 to 50% of craft workers' time is non-productive, meaning that work is not getting done due to unresolved constraints such as material shortages, hold up in another area of a project, labor shortage, and many more aspects. Though these non-productive time can never be eliminated, implementing a best practice planning methodology can greatly improve efficiency. And one of these best practices is interval planning. Interval planning is a process that addresses the dynamic nature of executing work in the field and continuously evaluating dependencies and other constraints to keep work flowing smoothly. It really requires this detailed planning to ensure that the crews have what they need when they need it and sets forth safety, quality, productivity, cost, and completion expectation before the work begins. Now look, today I'm going to use the term interval planning. This practice goes by many names: SIPP, SIS, look-ahead scheduling, field execution planning, work-phase planning, last planner. They all kind of mean the same thing. And so the CPM schedule, this is a great tool created to map out the total path of construction that a project will take from beginning to end, and how will the project achieve and incorporate all the scope in the resources to result in a successful on-time project. It serves a great purpose, breaking down the work from a high level, level 1, level 2, planning packages, work packages, all the way down to the activity level. But the dynamic nature of the details needed for the work phase level task planning is just not a great fit for the CPM schedule. And so CPM and SIPP working together, this provides a really powerful means to improve the overall efficiency. And there should be no debate whether it's SIPP or CPM that's the right planning and scheduling tool. Really, the answer is both. Because in the field, the steps or tasks can oftentimes be rearranged, moved around, split up, waiting for material or equipment. It's a more free and dynamic environment and a more free and dynamic means that is needed. As long as those details stay within the activity boundaries set out by the CPM plan, then all is good. And so today, these methods shown here may be very familiar to a lot of you. When we set out to build this capability within the InEight schedule solution, we went out to a vast number of projects across different industries, buildings, power plants, oil and gas facility, infrastructure. And we found that Excel and whiteboards and printouts posted on the cubicle wall are how multi-million and billion-dollar projects are being run in the day-to-day. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. The challenges with these approaches is that they're all very disconnected. The field supers each had their own look-ahead schedule, and they were disconnected from the master schedule. They were also disconnected from each other. Each super had their own Excel file, and really there wasn't the visibility. It's hard to collaborate in that sort of environment. And so it's hard to visualize how the work sequencing will be performed and really who's responsible for each task, and very importantly, how it relates back to the master schedule. If the details at the work phase planning level move outside of the CPM schedule, how do we know that, and how is that, what are our options for recovery and replanning of the overall master schedule? So let's take a look at this in action a new way, how interval planning can be done in a new, more dynamic and collaborative means. Okay, great. So now we're in InEight Schedule, and as an interval planner, when I come into the solution, I'm going to come straight to the execute part of the solution, and this is where I'm going to do my interval planning. And it's already pre-filtered by things that are assigned to me, by my time frame, and we're always looking at things in context of today and forward. So in this case, I'm looking at a 30-day window, and these are the few CPM activities. So these represent the CPM activities, and the duration. This area here is some non-working time, so the weekend. But you'll see how we can plan with that. So as a interval planner, I'm going to simply come in. I'm going to start to create some steps for my task. So let's run some wire. I have some crews that I generally work with and that are going to be doing this task. So let's pick a crew. In this case, this is going to be a subcontractor crew. I'm going to say that there's 200 feet of wire that we need to pull, and then I define the duration for this task in this mode. And so I would go forth and do this throughout this part of the project, and I would define what crews are being used to do this. 120 boxes, and that's going to take 3 days. And so you'll notice that along the way, the system's telling me how many of these things am I going to install. And so as I'm doing this, again, we're in context of our CPM schedule, but we're not doing CPM scheduling. So these task level items, these are things that I can very easily and fluidly move around. You'll notice that each day is independent of another. And so I can plan these things as I see fit, as the superintendent, as the work phase planner. And so it's very easy to use, very dynamic, and I can start this work ahead of the CPM task. That's perfectly okay. We call that a breech. So whether these tasks are starting ahead of the CPM or get pushed beyond the CPM date, then we show that as a breach. So this is a very important communication, not only to the planner, the interval planner, but to the scheduler and the broader project team to show how the work phase plans, how are they being planned in relation to the overarching plan. And we see that this task, for example, is marked in red, so that means it's a critical path activity. This roughen and lighting is not a critical path activity, so likely there's some float that could be played around with, and ultimately that'll be up to the scheduler and project manager to determine is any of these breaches, if that impacts that float. So I've been looking at only things assigned to me as an interval planner. I'm going to open this up now because I want to take a look at what are other tasks that other supers on this project are performing. And I can see Ben with the rough and fine grade on the grading task, which my tasks are somewhat dependent on those tasks. So I can see that it seems like there's some challenges there. They're only performing at 71% of their expected quantity install per day. So they've pushed out some of these tasks, and so I'm now aware of that, and that's probably also going to impact Alan's work. And as Alan, if I say that I'm Alan, I'm going to do some of the curb and guttering tasks here, and I pick a crew for Alan. Alan's got a concrete crew that also has a productivity rate assigned to this. So this is a great means that can be used by the superintendent, by the work-phase planner to help them. And so if I say that I need to do 700 cubic yards of concrete based on my output and my crew size, the system tells me that, hey, that's going to take 3 days, and I could do a total of 240 cubic yards of concrete per day. And again, Alan would come in and say when these things are going to take place. And we also are looking at very helpful here as we look out in the very short term. Hey, what's the weather look like? Because it looks like this week looks pretty clear in our location, but it looks like next Monday might be some rain. So we'll continue to monitor this. And see as we get closer is some of these tasks, maybe the form work can't be performed in the rain. And so, we have some great communication mechanisms here for not only the individual interval planner, but for the whole project team. And so to that end, we can look at, so if I come in as a project scheduler and I want to see, okay, what tasks have been breached, and start to have the conversation with the superintendents and the field crews on how we might be able to bring these back in. That's very easy to do. And I can also look at different metrics. So if I want to look at, what are my FTEs, how many people are we going to have in each area at any given time? I'm grouping by my WBS right now. I can also do grouping by some other location codes or whatever codes I have in my schedule. I can sort of flatten this out and see it just by activity. One of the most powerful things is to look at this by crew and start to see, do I have any crew breaches, to see where I've overutilized any of my crews across different of the CPM activities. I haven't. If I did, it would show nice bold red to show that. So a lot of good tools to be used to help the field to do their planning, and they can look at this in context of, hey, I've been looking at it in context of my 30 days. I can look at this in context of, let's look at out a little bit further, see what activities we have in our further time frame that I should be planning, or look at a nearer term view to look at, hey, let's just look at the next 3 weeks. And then ultimately, having this on this electronic medium, and a lot of our people that are using this already are throwing this up on a screen in the coordination meetings and being used real time interactively to move these items around to say, well, if we work some weekend days, we can lessen the impact and bring that work in. And you know what, the form work, we could probably start that a little bit earlier. We need to maybe split up this curbing work. So all very easy to use interactively inside of a meeting or whenever needed. But another good communication tool is to be able to take this information online and be able to deliver this out to maybe a subcontractor, or that the foreman can have in their back pocket for a crew. So we have this very nice ability to export this information out to an Excel file, which just gives you that ultimate flexibility to be able to have this information, again, have this that can be sent to a subcontractor, or have the field have this in their back pocket. But interactively, again, is best. And many of our customers have all their direct superintendents, as well as subcontractors in here doing this, all at the same time, and seeing, really being able to use this as a nice interactive and collaborative means to plan out their projects. So where are we going with all this? We really see that this capability and the uniqueness of this solution, really it's super powerful, and will be really helpful to project teams. And so when we looked at how could we further expand and bring together some of the other parts of the InEight solution, and we look at our field execution parts of our solution, our InEight plan, InEight progress solution, really in the interval planning, we're really defining the when. When are we going to perform and do these tasks? And inside of plan, inside of progress, really defining the how and the what. And so bringing these things together to be able to bring in the how and the what through the work packages and components that are defined based on takeoffs, based on the material takeoffs and the drawings. And so then we also wrangle in our model solution as part of it. So really very, very near term, we're integrating these parts of our solutions together so we can get the how, the when, and the what all nicely tied together. And so that when we're creating these interval steps, they're really based on that information that we already have, the component information, the takeoff information, how many pipe spools do we have to install, how many welds do we have to perform, and so in addition to that, we look at how are these things being progressed out in the field today using that the field part of our solution in plan and progress, having that field capability where the foremen are doing their daily planning, and as part of that recording every day how much time they spent, what was the quantity that they installed. So being able to tie all that information back up into the interval plan and ultimately help to inform the CPM plan based on the progressing of all that component information. So exciting times with what we have today with this solution, and also where we're heading tomorrow with this solution. And I think that today we've only really touched on one part of the InEight schedule solution. It's only one part of the magic that InEight schedule can bring to a project team. The full solution brings pre-planning and planning and scheduling and risk management in addition to the interval planning. So as I kind of bring this back full circle, it shouldn't be a question of CPM or interval planning. It's a question of these two things working in concert with each other, and getting the most out of that roadmap, path of construction level CPM planning and scheduling, and continuously breaking down that work and seeing the full picture, and then being able to go down to that ultimate detail level where things are very fluid, move around based on availability of equipment and material and people, and as long as these things stay within the context of the CPM activity, and if they don't, to provide visibility and a way to map out a path forward. So with that, I want to say a big thank you for everybody for taking time out of your day. Hope that you enjoyed this webinar, and let's keep the conversation going. Please reach out to us, and we'd love to talk to you more about interval planning and execution excellence with InEight Schedule. Thank you again. Bye.
Thanks, Keith. Again, if you have any questions, please email them to webinars@InEight.com. To learn more about InEight, as well as our broad portfolio of construction project management solutions, visit InEight.com and click on the Request a Demo button. And if you'd like to see a schedule of upcoming webinars, visit InEight.com/webinars. Thank you for watching. This concludes our presentation.